Welcome to my journey through the Bible. This will be a summary of Judges 7, verses 1 through 25. And Gideon and his men camped out on the north side of the Midianites in the valley. And the Lord told Gideon that he had too many men to go and fight against the Midianites. He said, "Proclaim in the ears of the men that are fearful or afraid for them to return home." There's 22,000 men that returned home, and God said, "There is still too many fighting men. Have the men go down to the river." And there were men that licked up the water with their tongue like a dog would lick up water. And these men were set aside for the battle. And the other men that bent down on their knees and scooped up the water in their hands to drink were the ones that were sent home. And then that night the Lord said, "Arise and go down to the host, for I will deliver them into your hands. And if you are afraid, take your servant with you, and he will give you strength." And so they went down to the camp, and they saw the men that were like grasshoppers, and their camels were without number, and the men were like the sand of the sea. And then there was a man that came and told of a dream. "I had a dream. A cake of barley that crumbled in the host of the Midianites in the tent, and they smote them and overturned it, and the tent was alone." And the man turned and said, "This is nothing else except for the sword of Gideon, a man of Israel. For into his hands God has delivered the Midianites and all of the host." And when Gideon had heard this dream and the interpretation of it, he worshipped God. And then he returned back to his camp, and he said, "Arise, arise, the Lord has delivered the Midianites into our hands." And he divided the 300 men into 3 different groups, and he gave each one of them a trumpet in their hand, and in the other hand was a lamp. "Look at me and do what I do. When I blow the trumpet, every one of you will blow your trumpet, and the sword of the Lord and of Gideon." And the men with Gideon were camped around the camp and did as they were told. And when the men blew their trumpets, then the Lord had set every man's sword against his fellow that was in the camp of the Midianites. And some fled, and Gideon had sent his messengers out and saying, "Help us go against the Midianites." And 2 of the princes of the Midianites were slain, and their head was brought to Gideon on the other side of the Jordan. May the Lord be with you in everything and in every way.